What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Life Knowledge video. My name is Justin Alphabet. Go ahead and comment, like, and subscribe down below. Today we're going to be talking about facing your demons. Okay, guys, so first off, we're going to talk about what facing your demons means. For the longest time, I didn't understand what this meant, so I'm going to tell you guys what it means. Facing your demons essentially means facing negative emotions or feeling negative emotions. Oftentimes, people tell us in today's world, like, be happy, focus on being happy, be positive, blah, blah, blah. And it's a lie. It's a lie. And I can speak from personal experience on this because I used to be one of those people where, like, I would focus on happiness all the time. I was always happy. And the issue with that is that it's unsustainable. Something at some point in your life will come and knock over your happiness, and that's okay. And let me explain why. When something comes over and knocks over your happiness, it typically comes in the form of a loss, a betrayal, a hurt, a failure, or something of that nature, right? And with that comes a darker, after that comes a darker emotion, which is the opposite of happiness. So happiness is like a light emotion, right? And below, down here, we have these dark emotions, which are like hate, sadness, anger, hurt, fear, etc. And each of these emotions are part of us for a reason. There's a reason we have what people call the shadow side to ourselves, right? We have our shadow side, which contains all of these negative emotions. And most people try not to explore that, and they try not to get into that. And when you face those fears, when you look at those demons, the anger, the fear, the hatred, the unkindness, the hurt, it starts to bring something out in you. And what's cool about it is it can create massive change in your life. For example, let's say someone gets heartbroken, right? You have two choices when you're heartbroken, right? You can bury those fears and hurt and hate and anger and frustration and pain. You can bury that with alcohol, drugs, sex, other girls, other guys, whatever, like you can sleep it off, you can, do whatever. And that's okay for like, some of those, like sleeping it off is okay. But like the drugs, the sex, the alcohol, that's not going to help, right? It's just burying those emotions temporarily. It's just trying to cope with those emotions in sometimes the best way that you know how. And I'm telling you that's not the best way. The best way that you should or must deal with these emotions is by feeling them, right? By facing those demons is what people call it. Facing your emotions, facing the music, facing the demons, actually embracing that hurt and feeling that hurt, feeling that negative emotion, feeling that pain. And what that does is it allows you to grow, right? When you feel a soreness in your muscles, it's an alarm that shows that you're growing, right? When you feel a soreness in your heart and sadness and pain, that means that your heart is also trying to grow. And when you cover those or bury those emotions, you're doing yourself a disservice. You're hurting yourself by not feeling those emotions even more, right? You're not growing your muscles when you don't feel that soreness or that pain. And there's two options right here. You can say like, oh, well, I don't want to grow, like I don't want to do that. Well, there's consequences for that, right? And also, when you say I do want to grow, I do want to feel this, there's consequences for that too. The consequences are this. One, if you choose not to feel those negative emotions and that negative pain, you will experience it again in the future. That's a guarantee. If you bury those heartbreak emotions, if you bury those hurt and anger and pain emotions, you will feel them again, trust me, because it's happened to me over and over and over again. I tried to avoid feeling those negative emotions in relationships and stuff like that, and it didn't work. You have to face them. You have to face those demons if you want to not feel them as much or as often in the future, right? The same way that if you want your muscles to grow, you have to feel the soreness, right? You can choose, to not feel the soreness and not work out, right? But that gives you the opportunity to be killed or hurt or weak in life, which allows for death. Like in life, typically, if you're not strong enough to take care of yourself, you're gonna die. And it's kind of like, imagine an antelope, right? If an antelope doesn't learn how to run, it'll get eaten. If any predator wants to eat you, it will. And there are a lot of predators in life. And so if you guys want to not keep becoming prey in your relationships, in your emotions, in your life in general, if you don't want to keep feeling that hurt and that pain of being the prey and being preyed upon or hurt, you have to become a predator to a point, or learn how to escape predators. And typically, well, actually not escape predators, just become the predator instead. And not in a bad way. Like, being a predator is not necessarily a bad thing, unless it's like a bad predator, like a predatory. Yeah, there's some forms of bad predatory behavior, but in this analogy, in this sense, what I mean is that instead of choosing to get your heart broken, figure out why you got your heart broken, right? Figure out what it is in your relationships that you're not doing correctly. If you're a man, maybe it's because you weren't masculine enough. If it was a woman, maybe you weren't being feminine enough. Figure out what it means to be feminine. Figure out what it means to be masculine, and do that more, right? And maybe your next relationship will be better. You'll attract someone who's more feminine if you're being more masculine, or you'll attract someone more masculine if you're more feminine. So focus on that, figure out what it is you did wrong, and face that feeling. Feel that hurt, because by not feeling the hurt, it's just putting it off to a later date, right? Like, it's like procrastinating it, essentially. Like, if you procrastinate not facing your demons, if you procrastinate your hurt, your anger, your fear, your hate, your negative emotions, someday they're gonna bubble up, and you'll be so resentful that you'll be forced to kneel. You'll be forced to become the person that you don't want to become, and you never wanted to become, right? But what's cool about that is that how do I put this? Some people want to be a warrior, right? Some people enjoy being, as a man, like, some people embrace the warrior lifestyle, and some people don't want to be a warrior, right? But in life, it doesn't really care if you want to be a warrior or not. You'll keep learning the same lessons over and over again until you become a warrior, because life doesn't stop for anybody. The timing doesn't stop. And for example, like, if you're dueling with swords, if you constantly forget to block above your head, you're gonna get hit in the head, right? Until you learn that you need to, once you get hit in the head once, it's not very difficult to figure out that you need to put your sword over your head to make sure that you don't, get hit in the head and you block or something like that. In relationships, or like, for example, if you get nicked on the side, you get cut on your side or something like that, that should, tell you to block it to the side. But some people don't what people don't do in emotions and relationships and business and life and other things is they don't learn the lesson. They think, oh, you know what, if I hold my sword over here, it's going to save me over here, but it's not. You have to figure out why you keep getting hit down there. Why do you keep getting hurt in that specific location? Like, what is it, and what is your partner telling you? What are people around you telling you? Trusted people, obviously. And to give you guys an example of that, I'll use myself. So in my last relationship, I struggled with boundaries, like in love and relationships. It was really easy for me to just give and give and give and give without receiving, but it never gave my partner a chance to give back to me and stuff. And that was something I needed to figure out about myself, to put a boundary up for myself. Is all that love and that effort I was giving to my partner, I also should have been using on myself, right? So you can imagine this for a second. Here's my ex-partner and here's me. And her cup is like half full of water and my cup is half full of water. If I pour all of my water, or like a fourth of my water, like half of my half, if I'm pouring my water into her, and then I also pour the rest of it into her, that means I have no water left for myself, right? If she does the same, right? If she pours all of her water into my cup, then she has nothing left. And unfortunately, in relationships, people often do that, and that's called a codependent relationship, where you pour all my water into you, and I'll pour all my water into you. And sometimes it works for a little while. But the issue is that someone else's water won't give you the same satisfaction as your own, unfortunately. Feminine water is good in small doses for masculine people, and masculine water is good in small doses for feminine people, if that makes sense. But a masculine person, I guess, can't survive on only feminine water, and a feminine person can't survive on only masculine water. And so in that relationship, it failed because I was giving her tons of masculine water and I was only getting a little bit of feminine water in return. And it wasn't enough to sustain me, so I had to leave the relationship. And so that was tough. I had to learn that lesson in a hard way. And what I learned now is that if I keep some of that water for myself, if I make sure that I keep, and this is what we would call a boundary. If I set a boundary for myself, like I can give this much amount, like here's my whole cup, here's half of my cup. If I'm half full and I have 1/4 I can only give 1/4 of my cup, and the rest of that cup is for me. Like I need that to survive, right? Obviously, it's better just to set your boundary higher, at like a half or, even higher. But start setting boundaries for yourself. Make sure that you have enough for yourself. And the reason why I had to learn this lesson, I guess I knew about this lesson, but I didn't learn it specifically for relationships. I learned it for like physical work, like, putting yourself as a priority and watching out for yourself in other ways, like financially and physically and mentally and socially and etc. But I hadn't learned it in relationships. Because life is pretty much the same in almost every single category of the 7 dimensions of wellness, which are, like health, wellness, fitness, mentality, spirituality, environment, and occupation, and those kind of things. I'll put it on the screen here, yeah. But like the point being, I hadn't learned that specifically for relationships up to that point, and that was the lesson I needed to learn. And so now my new standard of priorities is me first. And to me in the past that sounded really selfish, right? Like I love putting other people first. In a relationship, in my mind, I thought, oh yeah, you're supposed to put other people first. That's what my mom taught me, and that's what I saw my dad doing, right? Like he would always put my mom first. But what I wasn't noticing was that wasn't actually the truth. My dad was putting my mom first after he put himself first, right? Same with my mom. Like she would say, put other people first, be a good person. And Christianity teaches this a lot too, like in some churches or some groups or just any group, like, I don't know. There are a lot of different groups that say that, put other people first and you'll be a better person. But that's not correct. Like that's specifically directed towards people who are already egocentric and full of themselves. Typically people who are extroverts. And that's stereotypically people who are extroverts, right? People who are introverts or empaths, they are the opposite. So when you tell an empath or somebody who's like a feeler instead of a giver already, if you tell a giver to give everything they have, they'll give it. If you tell a taker to give everything they have, then you get a different response, right? A taker will give more if they're told to give more, right? But a giver should be told to take more, because it's all about giving, it's all about receiving, it's all about selfishness and all about selflessness. If you're typically a selfless person, you're a giver, and you should take more. Allow yourself to receive, and that's what I wasn't doing for myself. I was just giving and giving and giving and giving, right? I wasn't taking when I needed to. And so that's the lesson that I had to learn in relationships, and everyone has to learn a different lesson. It's all about different stuff. That specific lesson I learned about boundaries, right? I had to set a boundary on how much I was willing to give in a relationship. And that was tough to learn because I got hurt in the process, but that pain taught me to learn, right? But I feel better about it now. I feel good that I learned the lesson. I embraced that pain. I learned the lesson, and now I'm a better person. I've grown, right? When you embrace pain, you grow. When you don't embrace pain, you typically don't grow. So you have to face your demons. You have to embrace, hard things. So essentially, you have to face those demons, face that pain, face that hardship, face that, feeling, face the negative feeling of anger, of hate, of hurt. Because when you take responsibility for it and feel that hurt, feel that negativity, feel that emotion, the chances are of you not having to learn that lesson again are much slimmer. But if you bury that pain, if you bury that hurt, if you bury that, hatred, anger, pain, hurt, it's going to come back up again. You're going to have to experience it again. And I'm sure that you don't want to do that. So feel it, learn from it, grow from it, figure out why you're feeling that pain, and actually why you're feeling that pain. The real reason why you are feeling that, and take responsibility for it. For example, if you typically are in abusive relationships, figure out why you get attracted to abusive relationships and cut that off. Don't allow that. If you've had multiple boyfriends or girlfriends in a row who have been abusive, figure out what it is inside you that's attracting that, because you're the only thing that you can control, right? You're the only person that you have and that you have responsibility over in this life until you have children. But taking responsibility for yourself and being like, I wonder how I am contributing to this. Maybe I'm attracted to people who are emotionally unavailable, and then they become abusive. And I need to change my mindset so that I become more attractive to people who are emotionally available and healthy, and figure out why that is, There's always some underlying reason why we feel the way we feel. And in my relationship story that I just told you guys, I could have blamed my significant other, my ex, about for like hurting me, right? I could have placed that blame on her, right? I have that choice. But what I realize is it's actually my responsibility, right? Like as a man or as a woman or as an adult. It's your responsibility whether things are how you're feeling. It's not your responsibility how they're feeling all of the time. You know, like there are some, to a point, you know, you have some stewardship, some not ownership, or yeah, ownership over how you make people feel. Yeah. And but like, don't be a jerk. Don't hurt people on purpose. Don't be that person. But also you have a responsibility to protect yourself. You know, don't, you know, allow other people to hurt you. Don't walk away if people are hurting you. Don't be around other people that hurt you. And if you continue to put yourselves in those situations, you're going to get the same results. And so yeah, if you guys have any questions, comment them down below, and I'll make more videos about this. But essentially, like, learn the lessons that you're supposed to learn, and don't avoid the pain. Face the demons, the demons of hate, the demons of anger, the demons of pain. Don't hurt people, but feel them inside and do nothing about them. That's one thing I forgot to mention is like, for example, like if I feel angry, right? If somebody makes me hurt or angry, I don't have to do anything about it, right? Like, I have a choice to punch them or hurt them. I also have a choice to not punch them and not hurt them. And so what I need to do, and what all you guys need to do, is feel, like, go to a safe space, feel those negative emotions, and then let them go. You know, like, feel them out, because emotions are temporary. You know, like the anger is gonna end, the hatred's gonna end, the hurt is gonna end, the pain is going to end. It's going to end. It always does. Emotions are temporary. So when you feel those emotions, make sure it's safe. You can write a letter to this person telling them how they made you feel and express those emotions. You can go to the gym and you can work out those emotions, sweat them out. Sweating out emotions works. There are a plethora of ideas. I have a whole list of them I can give to you guys if you're curious. But that's some of the ways you can face your demons and let those fears out and let that hurt out. Fear is another one I didn't really tap on a lot, but facing the fear means just embracing it. The way that I learned how to do that is different than some people might be willing to do that, and that's okay. But I recommend this in a safe environment. The way that I did it was through heights. I was afraid of heights. That was a fear of mine, right? Which is a negative emotion that a lot of people will run away from and be afraid of and won't do cool things. And what I did was I faced that fear. So, for example, I made sure that I was safe, right? I made sure I was roped in and holding on to something. But then I stood at a point where I was afraid of that height if I would fall, right? And I felt that fear. I felt it. I felt it. I felt it. I felt it. And nothing bad happened because I was roped in. I was holding on to like a metal bar. And I realized my body's just telling me that I'm afraid, right? It's warning me that I should be afraid, but I'm safe. So something's off here, right? Something's weird about this emotion. I'm actually roped in. I'm secure. I'm safe. And I'm also holding onto this bar. I trust my strength to hold on to this metal bar in front of me, but there's a 10,000 foot cliff down below me. So I started to realize that emotion is temporary, right? Like, I was feeling that emotion, and my body was telling me that I should be cautious and afraid and stuff. And that's what courage is. That's the definition of courage, is facing fears even when you're afraid of them, right? So I decided to be courageous and face that fear. And the discovery was that all emotions have a time period, a time limit. My brain can only hold so much fear inside of it. at a time, right? So imagine a vial of fear, a vial of hate, a vial of anger, a vial of happiness, a vial of blah blah blah. Like you have a vial of every single emotion in your brain, figuratively speaking. And once that vial is tipped, for fear, it runs out eventually. You can only be fearful for so long, and then you start to not be as fearful. The vial for anger is the same way. You can only be angry for like 30 seconds to 60 seconds, and then it starts to turn into hatred, right? Like you can only be hateful for a certain amount of time. You can only be fearful for a certain amount of time, right? Like all those negative emotions have a time limit. Obviously, on the flip side, all positive emotions have a time limit as well. But for those ones, I think they're a little different because you can expand them. Like, for example, happiness. You can increase the size of your vial of happiness. You can increase, and actually, I amend my statement. You can technically make the vial for every single one of those emotions as big as you choose it to be, right? Like, you can choose to be really fearful and reward your fear and work on your fear and make your fears even bigger by not facing them, until one day, they tip out so much that you have to face that fear, and you have to, or you remain in fear for your entire life, and you realize that your potential has been squandered. Or you can choose to, grow your happiness on the flip side, like you can choose to grow your happiness up here and expand your happiness and expand the vial that, allows you to be happy. So, choose to be happy. Face the negative feelings is my suggestion. Start out with things that are easier. I would suggest hunger. I would suggest heights. Like in the hunger one, I would suggest is a little bit easier for some people, like fasting. If you've ever heard of fasting, just go for one whole day or as long as you possibly can without eating, and feel the pain of hunger. Face that demon. That's a demon, right? Like your demon of hunger will constantly tell you that you need to eat and eat and eat and eat and eat and eat. And if you tell your hunger no, like I'm gonna try this out, like what if I didn't eat for a whole day? Would I die? No. What if I didn't eat for a whole week or 3 days or whatever you choose? There are different levels of different people, but start out small, like skip a meal, feel the pain of that hunger and realize you're not going to die. Feel the pain of the heights, feel the fear of the heights and realize you're not going to die. You just feel scared, right? Feel the pain of sore muscles and realize you're not going to die from lifting some weights. Feel the pain of anger and realize you can control it and you don't have to hurt anybody. You don't have to hit anybody. You don't have to do anything like that. You are in control of it. And just feel a little bit of it at a time at first until you can control large amounts of it. And it's a practice. This is a practice. You have to practice at this. This isn't something that's just going to happen overnight. It's just like growing your muscles. It's just like getting fit. You can't just work out one day and expect that you're going to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. You can't just have complete control over your emotions and think that or in one day and think that you're going to be Sadhguru, or spiritual leader. You can't just, work at spirituality one day and expect to be completely spiritual. You can't just pray one time and think that God is going to give you everything all at once. You have to pray every day. You have to be grateful every day. Have the gratitude in your thoughts, etc. Or the universe or whatever maker you worship or deity you worship. And so it's a practice, but facing the negativity will also benefit the positive if you'll let it. If you allow yourself to face those demons, face the negative feelings, it will allow room for growth. And I just want to talk about fear of facing those demons real quick. For example, some women fear that they're going to get super jacked when they lift one weight, right? Like when they lift a 5-pound weight, but that's not correct. You're not gonna become jacked overnight if you're a woman or a man. Like you have to do it periodically and consistently, frequently, and you're not going to, if you're afraid that you're going to manifest something bad, like in spirituality, you're not going to manifest something bad right away, right? Like you have to manifest something multiple times for it to actually come to fruition, typically. So working on manifestation is not going to, kill you. Nothing will actually kill you unless you let it. So also another thing I was gonna say, with heights, right? Like feeling the fear of being at a high place, as long as you're safe and secure, isn't gonna kill you. Just feel it slowly, move closer to the edge as you're comfortable. Make sure you're safe, make sure you're secure, and just allow yourself to feel the feeling. Embrace it. Take some deep breaths. That was what I did when I was facing my fear of heights too. I hope you guys watched this far into the video, because I would take deep breaths and accept the feeling like of fear, and I would just allow myself to feel it and take deep breaths and take another step forward and a deep breath and just like ease myself into it, until eventually I wasn't scared. Now I can walk up over the edge of any cliff, and with or without a rope, and I'm not afraid. And other people are like, oh, aren't you afraid? I'm like, no, I trust myself. I trust, this rock. I looked at the rock and made sure it was safe. And I'm not encouraging anyone to do that by any means. I'm in charge of myself, and I'm my own responsibility, right? But it's just an example of how to face your fears for many different types of fears that people may be able to relate to. You could have a fear of relationships. Every time you've been in a relationship, it was a bad one, but allow yourself to figure out and look back and be like, why do you fear those things? What personal responsibility can you take for the failure of your relationships? And what can you control, right? Like what did you control or not control in your relationship that caused the outcome to fail, or for you to get hurt or whatever, right? And face those demons, experience that pain, feel those feelings, and you'll grow. And you could have a fear of change, which may cause you to go into drugs or bad habits or things like that. This time, choose to face that pain, and not choose to bury those negative feelings of change and things like that. It's time, it's time for you guys to level up. It's time for you to feel those pains and feel those fears and face your demons and feel those negative emotions. And it's time for you to grow. It's time. And change is okay. Just allow that. Change is okay. Growth is okay. It's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. Don't feel bad about the people that you're leaving behind, because you won't actually be leaving them behind. And I want to give a good example of that real quick from a Disney movie that I just watched recently. It's called Frozen, right? In this movie, we see Elsa, who leaves everything behind and grows herself, right? She grows herself, and she goes and lives in her ice castle and accepts herself and feels the pain and feels all those negative emotions that she has to feel, and does the right thing in accepting herself, right? She then cuts herself off from everything and everyone that she's ever loved, ever known, even people that she cared about. Anna, right? And the reindeer, and Sven, and the other guy. But anyways, Kristoff, that was his name. Anyway, she cut herself off from all of her people and then went to live in the ice castle. And you know what happened? She found herself. She became good with herself. And then after that, basically Anna came to her, and she found her because she realized, or she accepted the new version of her, right? People who really truly care about you will accept the new version of you. Your parents, whether they accept you or not, may be up to them, and sometimes it takes time, right? Like maybe it took time for, oh, actually it did take time. Her people, when they saw that she had these ice powers, were a little bit skeptical at first, right? But she had freaking ice powers. That would be so cool. Like when you have powers and things that other people may or may not have, of powers of emotion, powers of spirituality, powers of finance, powers of physicality, you know, mentality, whatever, people will be afraid at first, and they won't understand you until they get to know you and until they get comfortable with you. And David Goggins is actually a good example in real life of this. People don't understand him. They don't understand why he runs 100 miles a day, right? And David Goggins is what people would call insane or obsessive or whatever, because they don't understand his mentality. They don't understand his mindset. They don't understand his physicality. They haven't faced those demons that he has faced, right? And so they won't understand him until they start to watch him, till they start to learn what he's doing, till they start to understand him and understand why he is the way he is. Same with Elsa, right? In Frozen, she people didn't understand her at first. And this video is getting kind of long, so I'm gonna cut it short. But if you guys have any questions on facing demons, let me know in the comments below. Facing emotions, facing hard things, how you can do it. I'm doing one-on-one mentoring, and I can teach you guys how to face your negative emotions. I can teach you how to overcome them, and we can work through those things together. So comment below if you want some help. And yeah, that's pretty much it. But my phone died, sorry guys, but have the day you deserve, and let's level up. Thanks for watching.